Hi,
Okay.
I'm Edwin Rutch, and this is our discussion on benefits of empathy. And today I'm here with Newt Bailey. Thanks, Newt, for joining me.
Thank you.
So perhaps you could introduce yourself, Newt. You're an NBC trainer, and you could go a little bit, share a bit more about yourself.
Yes, I share nonviolent communication in largely in a format that I call the Communication Dojo, and also in some other settings like teaching NVC mediation skills in year-long program and various other things, and going into organizations sometimes to help with communication skills or helping organizations to get a renewed sense of direction and to start making use of empathy as a tool in how they relate to each other and to their clients and other people that they're partnered with and how they do their work. So,
Okay, and you've been doing this for a while, so you have a lot of hands-on experience with empathy and how it works and stories and experience. So what we wanted to talk about here was the benefits of empathy. It's part of a project I'm doing to lay out the various benefits, and you created a bullet point list of some of the benefits that you have. And so what we want to do here is just take each of those bullet points and talk about those.
okay.
And we can start with the first one. Your first point was you can take a rest from trying to be the one to fix things all the time. Would you like to
Right.
talk about that one?
Yeah, totally. I guess sometimes when someone is talking to me, especially if they're talking about things which are difficulties or problems that they're having in their life, um, I can naturally feel kind of a pressure that I want to do something about it, and sometimes that's out of just wanting them to thrive and to be well. And sometimes it might be actually a different thing that I'm just wanting more fun or more enjoyment or something, and their distress is not as much fun as I'm wanting to have. It could be like that, you know. But one way or another, there could be some internal pressure that I feel to help them fix their problem, so that either they have a changed experience or I have a changed experience, and or both. And that can be like a pressure inside of me sometimes. And the more despondent or angry or frustrated or whatever they are, or depressed, you know, sometimes friends of mine might be very depressed. Um, the more pressure there might be to bring about some kind of change to how they're feeling or to my experience with that. And certainly that's something that I used to experience a lot more, I think. And since really consciously making empathy a part of how I function in the world, part of my uh, personal operating system, that's become much less of a pressure. Like the pressure still might be there, and yet now I have this other option of just like, well, I could just not try and fix anything and not try and change anything about this at all. I could sit here and be present with the person who's speaking and do my best to understand what it's like for them, what they're going through, do my best to convey to them that I'm, you know, what it is that I'm understanding, and see if that gives them a sense of being understood, a sense of being met with empathy, and I can just do that. You know, it's like it's a lot less pressure. And if I only want to do that for 5 minutes, then fine. And if I want to do it for an hour, then fine. And you know, no need to go beyond the point when that stops being enjoyable for me to do. But what I find is that it can be very enjoyable to do, actually. And then there's the added side benefit that sometimes the other person, through just being heard in a really spacious way, like I'm not pushing back, I'm not trying to get them to think about strategies or ways out of their circumstances or something. I'm just listening with empathy and being present. They quite often come up with ideas spontaneously on their own about what they want to do and how they can enjoy themselves more in life or whatever, and I didn't have to do that. So yeah, it's a reduction of pressure for me.
Okay, so it's I'm hearing, I mean, reflect a little bit, you're feeling a reduction of pressure that, especially, it sounds like before you had a sense that if someone was in distress or depressed, that you had a sense that you had to do something and kind of fix them in some way, and that created a sense of pressure in yourself that you had to do something. And you find with empathy that you just are present with them and empathize with them, and there's no or less pressure that you're feeling, and you find that that's a sense of benefit, that you don't have to have that pressure.
Totally, yeah. Yeah, just greater ease interacting with people. Yeah.
Is there a story? Do you have any kind of a story of where that actually happened? I know, for example, that it's often in our culture, it's males have the idea that we have to fix things, right? It's like, oh, somebody's got a problem. I'll often hear that in relationships, that perhaps the female says, oh, I have this problem, and then the male jumps in and says, oh, I've got to fix this, and then tries to fix it, and then the partner gets all upset. And it's really about that maybe they just wanted to be heard. They didn't want someone kind of going in and trying to add something or fix it.
Right. Oh, for sure. Something I say about that sometimes for people who do like to fix things, and they know that's because I want to respect that as well. That's the way that they try and bring value to the world, is to help people with problems and that kind of thing. And there's a time and a place for taking action and so on. So I really want to respect that. And so what I sometimes say to people who know that that's their nature, is that that's how they want to support others in the world, is just to point out, like, if you want to fix, which means that you want to help or support someone else and have them not be sad or not be whatever, then actually sometimes the most effective thing that you can do is to give up on all ideas of fixing, except for whatever comes out of just being empathically present with the other person. And because if what the other person is most longing for is empathy, is to be heard, is to be received by someone in that way, that's what they're most longing for. That's what they are actually wanting right now. That's not what they're saying. They're telling you about their terrible boss or their terrible day or their whatever it is. But what they're most longing for is to be received with empathy. If you do that, that's the thing, in a certain sense, which will be the most helpful to the other person and the most supportive, and you're actually giving what they're looking for, and out of that, other things can flow quite often. And anything else that you do to fix their situation, you will find to be frustrating and also not actually satisfying for you as the person doing it, if you enjoy fixing things and supporting people in that way, because it's not fixing anything. It's just generating friction and misunderstanding and that kind of thing. So you're not, if you look closely as the fixer, you're not even achieving what you're trying to achieve quite often, unless you empathize. So
the empathy is the fix in itself.
Yeah,
it's like you're wanting to fix someone, give them empathy, and it's the number one thing maybe that you can do to fix them if you have that desire to fix.
Right. I mean, it's a strange way of saying it because the word fix is pretty loaded, but underneath the desire to fix is a desire to help, to support, or to just get relief from the pain that the other person's expressing or something like that, for yourself or for them. And in all of those cases, all of those urges which result in the fixing activity can be better served by empathy a lot of the time. I'm not saying always, but frequently enough that it's well worth trying, at least for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or something. Do that first before jumping into the fix it.
Well, I know as the receiver, it is someone who is, have had my own struggles with something, and then I share it to someone. I say, oh, this is what's going on for me. And then they start giving me ideas of what I should do, which is kind of the fixing. Oh, you should do this. You should do this. And for me, that actually feels like a burden. It's like, come on, you think I haven't thought about that? You think I'm stupid?
Right.
You're not even seeing me. You're
Right.
giving me all this crap, and you're not even seeing me for the problems I'm having. And then I feel extra stressed because the person not even seeing me. If all they would do is just listen to me and really hear what's going on for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's what I liken it to. I used to work in software engineering, and there's always bugs or things to fix in software, and sometimes it's possible that you think that you understand what the problem is, and so you set about fixing it, and it turns out you didn't actually pay sufficient attention to what the actual presenting situation is, and so your brilliant fix is totally going in the wrong direction, and then you finish your fix and you report back to whoever it was who said, hey, this needs to be fixed, and they say to you, that's not, it's not doing what it needs to do still. You've created some other thing here, but that's not what we needed. And so it's almost like that. It's an equivalent thing that when someone's talking to me, if I start leaping in with my suggestions, quite often I'm doing that, and I don't actually really understand the presenting situation. I don't really understand what they're in the middle of at all. It's kind of, just like what you said, I think, then. And if I was to pause a little bit more, I would understand better, which would quite possibly, if there is some advice or suggestions to be given that they would welcome, then it's more likely that those suggestions will actually be applicable to their circumstances if I've actually listened for a little bit first, and empathized for a little bit first.
So when you're empathizing with the person who's having some kind of problems, you're actually getting closer to what the real problem is, so that when you do have your fix or have your suggestion or your creativity for how to solve it, it'll actually kind of be hitting the actual problem better.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like that you say that your creativity, because there is a creativity to solution finding, and again, I really want to respect that and really want to allow that to be part of my life. I just had a coaching call with someone yesterday where I was getting coached on something because I needed support with how to think something out, So that was an example of this person giving me a lot of suggestions, but they also gave me a lot of empathy. They made sure that they were understanding what I needed help with before they started throwing suggestions at me. So both things are very valuable, and empathy is such a great foundation for advice and suggestions and so on.